Hey everyone, welcome back! This is it. This is what we've been waiting for. This is the strongest Saryn melee build ever. You might be wondering why I waited until now to show this. Well, I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out quickly. Remember that Blood Altar setup? How about we make a run and gun version of that and it scales infinitely? This is the strongest melee Saryn. Now I know Nightmare recently put out 2 videos on Saryn since the update dropped. This is my version with a little extra flair. It's still a weapon platform Saryn, but with some funny quirks. First, let's talk about everybody's favorite new melee arcane, Melee Influence. If you didn't get this already, get it. Okay, how does it work? Whenever you inflict an electric proc with a melee weapon, you have a 20% chance of activating a buff. This already favors fast or multi-hitting melees. If you activate this buff, for the next 18 seconds, every single status proc created by your melee weapon on any hit will be replicated and applied to all enemies within 20 meter radius of you. 0 cooldown, 0% fall off. Basically, a portable mecha set. However, it cannot spread IPS, which means boohoo no slash. And the 18 seconds timer cannot be refreshed while active. Therefore, to activate this arcane the most consistently, you either want a high status chance melee, or grouping, or fast attack speed, or multi-hit combos, or a combination of the above. Now, Jat Kittag is perfect for this. Why? The forward block combo of Crushing Ruin deals moderate damage, but has multiple hits in its spin radius for a status-based weapon. This makes it extremely easy to apply status effects, including electric, making it easy to activate Melee Influence. But here's the important bit. Melee Influence inherits the traits of the melee it originated from. I'm sure you've seen Amalgam Argonac Metalauger taxiing off Influence for armor strip DPS recently. Now, what if we gave Melee Influence's 20 meter AoE its own AoE? Vulcan Blitz. This augment deals 60% of enemy HP as blast damage into 6 meters AoE. Melee Influence inherits this. Every single kill from the status effects of Influence as spread will trigger Vulcan Blitz explosions. We now have quadratically scaling damage depending on how well enemies are grouped up. Our AoE has its own AoE per enemy in the AoE. How tragic for our enemies. Now here's the next bit. Saryn's Toxin Lash procs off Vulcan Blitz. This means the 60% HP blast AoE? Yeah, that gains a second hit created from Toxin Lash, scaling with strength and toxin mons on your melee weapon. It also force procs a Toxin Dot, now allowing your 60% HP blast AoE kill stragglers that would otherwise survive. On top of this, any enemy that dies as a result of Vulcan Blitz will trigger their own Vulcan Blitz explosion, even if said enemy is outside of Melee Influence's original 20 meters AoE. The result is a cascading chain of death that can hit out to 50 or even 100 meters away. I have had 2 tile away hallways I've parkoured to where there is still an enemy at the end of the line ticking away about to explode. The biggest question is, how far does this fare against armor? Well, I'm fighting against level 200 Steel Path Circulus in this video in Conjunction Survival and everything dies near instantly. You will not need armor strip unless you are chasing level 9000. Today's helmet is Shock Trooper. Since the biggest source of nuking is activating Melee Influence, and that arcane only has a 20% chance of activating, we might as well jack up our electric procs. This both makes it easier to activate the arcane whenever it expires due to higher elemental weight, and also supercharges our electric procs to start the chain cascade. Remember that, unlike Saryn's Toxin procs, electric can cross-chain and has quadratically scaling damage AoE. Saryn's Toxic Lash force procs on the other hand and triple dips Banes. Now, Melee Influence reapplies Banes from all prior sources, leading to triple dip electric procs and quad dip Toxic Lash procs. This makes it a lot easier to kill through armor. Vulcan Blitz itself also benefits from Banes, increasing the amount of percent HP damage it can deal to 96% HP maximum before viral. This will be important if you want to run this setup in Endurance, where it would be wise to subsume an armor strip such as Terrify or Pillage to guarantee instant death, while giving up electric weight. This will make it harder to activate Influence, but Saryn with armor strip is already enough for Endurance. Influence on top is the bonus that results in the massive room nuking potential you see here. Let's look at our Saryn build. It needs 0 Archon shards whatsoever. You can add whatever shards you like. Interesting, right? Yes, you can use green shards to full strip with spores, but then you need to build range, and I didn't want to do that. Alternatively, Venom Dose taxiing all the corrosive procs from Jat Kittag's spin could theoretically full strip the map too. However, it wasn't necessary at the level ranges I showcased. That could be an alternative to using an armor strip subsume for a level 9k. Alright, this is a shield gate Saryn by design, however you can turn this into a health tank Saryn by replacing catalyzing shields with adaptation, and replacing Arcane Energize with Arcane Blessing. This will provide you with 1665 HP max, and for health tank I would also recommend replacing Brief Respite with Enemy Radar to find victims sooner, or Corrosive Projection if you have nothing else. Arcane Strike is mandatory to make our hammer feel better to use today. For shield gating, this build assumes you're bringing a pistol with 2 Augur Mons, therefore the loadout has Brief Respite and 4 Augur Mons for 310% energy to shield conversion. This makes your 2 cost 25 energy to cast, restoring 78 shields a pop and fully restoring your 1.33 seconds shield gate with catalyzing shield. Molt also functions as a status cleanse, which is the reason why I didn't slot Rolling Guard on the build for base steel path. If you're going endurance and bring pillage, then you can slot Rolling Guard over Shock Trooper for more iframes comfort as well. For the rest of the build, we want enough duration that abilities are not annoying to recast. 151 makes Venom Dose and Shock Trooper last 60 seconds each and Toxic Lash 68 seconds. If you play this setup as a health tank, you can optionally replace both Augurs with Regenerative Molt and Umbral Intensify. I would not recommend using Precision Intensify in the setup since we use all of our abilities and they scale with strength. For guns, I do not care. Use what you want. A backup weapon would be nice if your melee bugs out somehow, but all you need to do is bring Dexterity Arcanes to extend the combo duration of your melee. Your focus school is either Madurai or Naramon, depending on how worried you are of being unable to get another melee hit within 20 seconds. Madurai brings juicy casting speed and plus 40% strength, which buffs her 1, 3, and Shock Trooper, leading to massive damage increases, whereas Naramon is just for comfort. Time to see that Jat Kittag build. This one is pure viral, and part of the reason why I brought Shock Trooper was so I could free up a mod slot. This ensures I have everything, including crits, status, elements, condition overload, and most importantly, the primed Bane. This is because the Bane multiplies percent HP damage to 96% on Vulcan Blitz, but that this Bane triple dips electric procs originating from melee influence spread and quadruple dips toxic lash procs going into melee influence spread. If you do not use this Bane, this setup is literally pointless. Electric procs deal 3.7 times more damage because of this Bane, and Toxin procs deal 5.8 times more damage. The only mod you could possibly drop for attack speed is Organ Shatter, resulting in 47% of your total damage output disappearing into thin air. However, this setup is strong enough that it is probably okay to do so. If you don't use green shards, spore, 100% strip strats for endurance, and use pillage or terrify instead, then you will have to replace Organ Shatter with Shocking Touch and will not have any space for attack speed. This means this setup significantly benefits from a Riven, because even for base steel path, an attack speed Riven with a second useful stat to replace a mod here would be a massive quality of life increase. For endurance, you'd be looking for attack speed, electric, and a third stat to replace a mod. Probably Toxin or crit damage as the third stat. The reason why we want to use Prime Toxin is because it scales into Toxic Lash's damage buff calculation twice. Yes, Toxin mods double dip for Toxic Lash buffs. Toxic Lash also applies after Venom Dose, meaning that extra corrosive damage does scale into the final bonus hit Toxin Lash creates. Okay, that's a ton of math, so why not look at something simpler? How's our Nautilus? I chose Nautilus to expedite enemies' deaths by dragging them towards my melee. This is also important because grouping enemies together makes them easier to hit with my Vulcan Death Rattle spin. This means more electric proc spread in an AoE, easier activation of melee influence, etc. Manifold Bond requires 3 status effects to activate and shave 3 seconds off Cordon's 15 seconds cooldown. This is extremely easy to activate on today's build. Toxin Lash Force procs Toxin. I intentionally used Shock Trooper to get higher electric weight, which both results in more frequent electric procs and juiced electric chain damage. The Jat Kittag used prime mods for pure viral modding, meaning it has good viral weight as well. Venom Dose also adds Corrosive as a mod, lowering enemy armor to make them more susceptible to Vulcan Blitz's AoE and procs. Yes, this spreads via melee influence as well and would work well with Emerald Shards for endurance. That's already 4 elementals available to proc from my multi-hit spins. Then, Nautilus itself was outfitted with a Helstrum, including Radiation, Viral, and Heat for even more options. Safe to say, Manifold Bond will be triggering constantly. I chose to use Animal Instinct this time because we kill enemies so fast that it is extremely difficult to figure out where the next highest enemy density spawns are at otherwise. Synth Deconstruct lets me get holster reload on my primer if I ever shoot it, but more importantly can also be handy for always having a magazine full to activate Reinforced Bond if my Nautilus's shield breaks. Me shooting a primer and holster reloading the set bonus immediately grants shield back to my Sentinel, bypassing shield recharge delay. If my Nautilus still somehow dies, the sheer amount of nuking will also kill Xmas units, triggering Momentous Bond to shave 18 seconds off the revive per kill. And remember, the revive timer is already down to just 25 seconds due to primed regen. Guardian is my final fallback for when my shields break, casting an extra safety net for when I'm slow to shield gate with Molt. And that's it. How to use? Cast your 1, 3, and Shock Trooper. Cast Molt as needed if you want a movement speed buff, shields break, or you just want a status cleanse. Then just forward block combo to twirl into enemies and watch them instantly pop and die. That's all you gotta do. You can alternate forward block combo after 2 spins with a forward combo 2 swings, which lets you reset the forward block combo for more spins. An Acolyte shows up, just whack them until they're dead. It really doesn't take long. Endurance just weaves in an armor strip ability if you brought one. Otherwise, your Jat Kittag will slowly AoE strip via melee influence Taxi and Corrosive procs via Venom Dose from your twirls into the 20 meter AoE. Or if you built range, then your Spores can AoE full strip also. Cheers! If this is your first time watching, feel free to leave a like or better yet subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. 79.5% of you are not subscribed. I try my best to get you new information out always as soon as possible like I've been doing with the Whispers of the Wall update. Stick around if you want to see interesting memes and builds on a nearly daily basis. Don't want to miss out on any of that, do you? That'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching and see you all next time.